Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I've got a special treat for you guys today with my guest, and we are going to, we're going to talk about her business and how she overcame some of the obstacles that sometimes set us back a little bit when we're starting our business, and some people that sets them back enough that they never start and they give up. So if you're here live, please feel free to show us some love. Ask us your questions. And if you're catching the replay, just type in replay so we know that you were here. And we're going to go ahead and just dive right in. I have Inez here, and she is a social media guru and a blogger, and she's also a mom. And she has an incredible story to share with us today. So I'm going to turn it over to her and have her tell us a little bit about herself and how she got started as like a mom boss and an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I'm a guru, but thank you. I like that, though. I think I'm going to put that on my business cards now. My name is Inez, which Amie said correctly. That's very exciting. Points for that. And my journey actually to become a mom boss was a slow progression, which I think for some people is very encouraging, because a lot of times we hear these overnight success stories and hi, Julie. And so I invited my friends from my influential Mamas network. I usually do a live at this time there. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be over here. So I actually became a blogger, not to make money, just as a hobby, when I was 38 weeks pregnant. And
that's ambitious.
It is. I was a single mom even at that time. I was single and pregnant, about to have a baby. And I had heard a story from someone in my family who had shared it. It was a funny story, like that her daughter asked, hey, Mom, what did you want to be when you were my age? And she said she wanted to be a veterinarian. And she's like, did you become one? And then we all laughed. Like, she obviously has no idea what her mom does. Her mom's not a veterinarian. And it was like a funny story. But then that story just kind of hit me later on. And I thought, one day this baby is going to grow up and ask me the same question. And I don't want to have to say what I wanted to be and have a little bit of a sting there, because I never did it. And so as a little girl, I always wanted to be a writer. And so at 38 weeks pregnant, the only viable option for me to become a writer, I felt at that time, was to become a blogger. And so that's how I started blogging. And I was, like I said, a single mom. I had relocated from Hawaii to California to live near family because I needed support. And so I had some money saved. I had some support as far as financially. My family, invited me to stay. My parents opened up their home to me and stuff. So so that I could just focus on the baby. So I wasn't pressed to get a job immediately, but it was weighing on me heavily. And so I, as my savings started to run out and I had this baby, I was blogging and enjoying it. And I realized, like, hey, I think I could make money doing this. Like, I started getting exposed to all these other bloggers that were making money. And I was like, I can do this. I can do that. So I decided to start making money with go from being a hobby blogger to a business blogger. I decided to shut down my blog completely. And I start a new one. And I started working on building social media. I felt like the quickest way for me to actually make the money that I needed to make, so I didn't have to go and work full-time outside of the home and leave my baby, was via social media. And so that's how I started with Instagram. I worked my butt off. People ask me all the time, how'd you get so many followers? It was not easy. I worked really hard day and night with a baby. It was a lot of hard work. But I wanted so desperately to be able to stay home with my son. And especially as a single mom, that didn't seem possible. And so I decided to make it possible, make it happen. So that's that.
Well, good. That's so awesome. And, I think one of the things that you mentioned there, that a lot of people who don't really understand or don't get, like what it means to work in an online space or in a virtual space or with other people virtually. Like they just think that we're just like playing on Pinterest all day or something. So like, I'm so glad that you brought up that you like were working your butt off. Sometimes it might have been at 2 a.m. while you were up with baby, or maybe it was, that you were sacrificing your own nap time to be, doing these things that needed to be done while you were, instead of, because everybody always says sleep when the baby's sleeping, but then you're like, oh, well, that's when I have to like take a shower, like, do dishes, I have to fold the laundry, and I have to build my business. Like I have to work, and so I'm glad that you mentioned that a lot of hard work does go into creating an online business. And so a lot of people feel like they see like the highlight reels of, these mega star coaches and these mega star, Instagram experts and Facebook ads experts and all these things. But what they forget is there's a back office, there's a behind the scenes, there's all the things that they don't see. They don't see us, with the messy buns and hair sticking out everywhere, typing away and getting out the emails that we need to get out and uploading all of the, the membership information to the membership sites when we've created a program and creating those workbooks. They don't see all of that. They just see the finished product. So they get to see and think about all those really neat things that are pretty and tidy and, well presented. But they don't know what went into it. They don't know what time of the day you typed up that workbook. Like I said, it was probably at 2 a.m. So right. I'm glad that you mentioned that part of that, because I think that some people are under the misconception that all this stuff is just so easy and it just all falls into place for us. Like, oh, it just happened and happened. And don't get me wrong. Once you get in a flow and once you have a positive message that you like totally believe in, the words come easy, the sharing comes easy, that part comes easy, but there's still work to do sometimes. So, well, tell me a little bit too, like, obviously, being a mom is hard enough. Being a single mom is twice as hard, and you still managed to do it. You like you said, you worked your butt off. Tell us a little bit about some of the other struggles that you had when you were starting out, maybe some fears, some self-doubts, maybe you had some negative influence trying to hold you back, any of that stuff. Feel free to share a little bit about that and how you overcame it.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of being a single mom, I think, and having that, people say all the time, oh, that must be so hard. And for me, like, it's all I know. It's all I've ever done. So that the part that I think is probably harder, I don't know if I want to say harder, but I think the thing that's challenging that maybe other moms, I think some still face this, even married moms, but the thing that's hard compared to most moms is the full financial burden is on my shoulders, and the emotional burden is on my shoulders. And I realize not every mom, and I remind myself of this when I want someone to tell me I'm a good mom or something. I remind myself that not every mom gets, like, I'm not the only mom that doesn't get that. Married moms don't get that either. Men are different than women. It's not even that your husband doesn't think you're a good mom. He just may not think to tell you every day, or no, even people, I think most people don't even realize that we need to hear that as moms, and so I remind myself that that's really not a different situation than most other moms, but just having that financial burden is heavy on me because it does all lay on me. And I'm very fortunate, even compared to most single moms. I have a very supportive family that my parents were like, hey, come live here. They let me live here rent-free, live with them rent-free for a year before I started paying rent. But just for me, even just to get to the point where I make enough money to pay my own rent, it's very exciting. But I had that support in that way, but the financial burden was so heavy on me that was a challenge to think like, okay, this is going to take time for me to build this. And it was very tempting to go, and still at times it's tempting to go and get a job elsewhere where the money is more secure. And I know it's just going to roll in on the 1st and the 15th. As long as I go to work, it's going to come in on the 1st, 15th. That's very tempting. But the thing that keeps me going is my son, and knowing that I want to be with him as much as I can. And one of the reasons I mentioned earlier that I relocated from Hawaii to California, I'm going to be a single mom, I realized that I was going to be working 10 hours a day. Traffic there is terrible. So even if you're going down the street, it takes you an hour to get home. So really, I would be away from my kid at least 12 hours a day. And that was just something I didn't want to do. And still now, it's something that I don't want to do. Now, I don't want to paint the picture that being a work-at-home mom means you're around your kid all day. As you can see, like, I don't have a kid here. You don't have any kids there, right?
Like all over my office, but they're out in the room.
I have letters littered all over the ground here. The alphabet is on the floor. But yes, so as a work-at-home mom, at some point, especially like, now I have to have daytime when I can work without my son. And so, so I don't want to paint the picture that work-at-home moms, we have our kids around us all day long. But I guarantee you I'm able to be around my son far more than I would if I was working outside of the home. And for me, that was really important. And that's what keeps me going. And even pushing beyond the negative commentary that I got and still get. It gets, the more money I make, the less comments I get, where the more apparent it becomes that I actually am making money, then the less naysayers I have. But I still get it. And people, I had some very negative things said to me. I was told to get off my butt and get a job, to get a purpose. I needed to find a purpose in life, and all these things that were really hard. And like for me, sorry, it kind of makes me emotional, but just reminding myself that it doesn't matter what anyone else says or thinks about me. It really doesn't matter. They're not responsible to raise my child, and they are not responsible to pay my bills. Only I am. And so I know how that I can do that. And I know I have to do what I feel is best for my son and myself and for our life. And I just have to stay focused on that and not care. And it's hard not to care. It's hard. And I didn't realize that as a mom, it's almost harder, to like, you just get all this stuff that comes at you for everything. And then it's like, for everything, the way you discipline your child or don't discipline your child, the way you dress your child, the way you feed your child. And then now people care about your job. Like, it's really not anyone's business. And so I just had to really remind myself of that, and remind myself, most importantly, that I do have a purpose, and that my son is my purpose. And what is cooler than I get paid? Essentially, I get paid to be a mom. As a blogger, I share the activities that I do with my son. And I get paid for that. And like, it's amazing to me. And if there's any mom out there that you just like think like, I want to do that or whatever, like, how cool is it that you can get paid to be a mom, to do, I think probably almost every mom, I think a lot of moms would love to be able to do that. And that we live in a day and age where we can. And I think that that's pretty awesome.
No, it totally is. I was talking to a client ago while I was parking my car. Granted, it took me an hour to park, but we had a great conversation. And, and I finally told him, like, look, I'm trying to park. So if I swear at somebody or something, I'm trying to park my car in like this, crazy madness. Cause it was like spring break in San Diego, and it was crazy. And, but I mean, that's just it. My kids were both taking a nap in the car, and we were together. We were about to go do something fun. But I had this meeting, and it was something that I was able to do on the road. I've done another meeting where my husband was driving, and I just put my headphones in, or he'll put his in, and I'll do my work like on the way to Vegas. Like, the kids are finally asleep for 5 minutes or something amazing, because one of them doesn't like the car. But there's a lot more flexibility to it. So it's not like we're neglecting our kids by running this business. But we get to be home with them and get to feel that, that stay-at-home mom thing, if you will, even though it's still a little different. Like I said, people are like, well, what are you doing? Like, you're a stay-at-home mom. How come you didn't have dinner done? Or how come you don't put your laundry away? I'm like, dude, I hate laundry. And I still work. Like for me, it's like, I run 2 businesses. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the laundry.
I work really hard. That's it. Sometimes I want to walk around sign says, I work really hard, like.
Yes, exactly. Like, I do work really hard and the laundry sucks.
Yeah. And I think for me, this, one thing that really helps with that is the community. And as a blogger, like the blogging community is fierce. Like, it's really strong, so supportive. And I love that I have a group of women that they know how hard I work, and they'll acknowledge, like, if I share something, they're like, oh, wow, that you must work really hard on that. I'm like, I did. Thank you. Like, so it's just awesome to be with women that we get it and we know. And I think any business is like that. And I would say it's really important to plug in. And if you, whatever your business may be, to get that networking and get that community with people, other moms, especially, that get it. They're doing it. They know that you're working when you're sitting at your computer. I think people think I just play on the computer all day, but I'm like, I'm working.
Yeah, Pinterest, of course.
It's so funny when you said that earlier, because just this morning I was on Pinterest pinning. Like, I was not looking for, it was not for enjoyment whatsoever. It was just pin, for business. And my son walks in, he goes, what are you doing, Mom? Working? I'm like, yes. So,
all right.
Yes. And the community is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yes. And that's so true, because a lot of times I was at a convention in February, I think it was. And one of the ladies, she did graphic design, and she was, she wanted to build websites for female entrepreneurs, but she's like, I feel like stepping into this online space is so lonely. And I was like, you do really? Because, me, I come from network marketing, and you instantly get a team of people, right? Like, and they're like cheering you on, because, your success is their success and vice versa. So I was like, really, you did? And so I listened to her talk about it, and she's like, yeah, because I started out and nobody in my life understands what I'm doing. And she goes, so when I met up with, this community, this group of gals, she goes, it was so nice to have like-minded people who were like, oh yeah, we're doing this too. And if you do this, and if you do this, and like, she's like, I felt like everybody was like lifting me up instead of being like, you're doing what? Like, why don't you just get a job? Like, so it can be lonely if you don't network yourself into a community. Like, so if you're a blogger, you want to definitely get in on like one of these mom blog groups, or, well, maybe you're not even a mom. Maybe you're like a travel blogger, If you're starting maybe you're starting a coaching business, join a group with, other people who do coaching or offer coaching advice or whatever, because then that support is going to be there. And so that's a big deal for me too, because otherwise, like, sometimes you have to share your wins, you have to celebrate the little things. Like, you have to have a place to go and be like, yay, I just got my first customer ever today. Like, because like, if you tell somebody else that, they're like, great, like, so what? Like, but, and they might think it's great, but they don't understand the true excitement about it. Like you said, the people in those communities, they really know what you've put into it, because they're, doing that same, hustle too. They get that. So yes, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And obviously, like, the coolest part is you got to prove those people wrong. Those people that were telling you, like, find your purpose, find a job, whatever. Like, yeah, I have a purpose and a job, and I don't sit in traffic every day. So, hey.
Yes, and I get to help other moms do it too. To me, that's the most rewarding thing, actually, is being able to help other moms.
Yeah, especially because you can relate to, where they're, where you started. You can relate when somebody else is starting out, like, yeah, I've been there. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're going through. This is what I did to get past that, or this is what I implemented to take me to this next step. And the funny thing is like, the other thing that I sometimes talk about, like in the Goal Getter Girls community or whatever, is when you have a 9-to-5 job, which is different, and there's nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5 job. It's just a different atmosphere. There's what I call employee mentality. There's almost no person who's your manager or your coworker who's going to train you to do their job exactly how they do it, if not better, and then wish you well. Like, that's just that's not how it goes, because people live in, part of employee mindset is like a place of scarcity. Like, if somebody can do my job better than me or faster than me or with less mistakes or this or that or whatever, I'm going to lose my job. But not in an online space. It's kind of like there's no competition. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, well, your ideal client may be different than my ideal client, which may be different than somebody else's ideal client, but we all network together and raise each other up. We share tips, we share tools, we share resources. And that's, I think, so empowering with, working together as women, because that doesn't usually happen in an office full of women.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. Things I love about my business and working with other mom bloggers and being in community this way is that, like, there isn't that competition, and we all are friends, and we love each other, and we root for each other, and it's not catty. I'm not that that's never happened, but I think in the time that I've been blogging, I think I can only think of one situation that was like, oh, that kind of workplace situation where someone felt threatened by me, but like never ever, that just doesn't happen, because it doesn't matter. Like,
and I think when it does happen, like on the rare chance that somebody speaks up and says, like, I don't want to share my this, that, or whatever, because I'm afraid that my clients will want to, or my potential clients or my list or whatever will want to jump ship. And so that's just, part of that's a mindset thing, as you know. And the other part is that it's just not necessarily true, because we're not, everybody has something different to offer in a different way to a different person, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain unless you're in the situation. No, but
I totally get what you're saying. I actually I run you would call it a coaching group, and I have 100 women that pay a monthly fee to be in this group, and they're amazing. These are the women that are here watching, and there are a couple women in there that I'm like, they're coaches themselves, and they're doing very similar to what I'm doing in a maybe different, more of a business rather than mine is focused on influencers and bloggers, and there's a small business and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I've had the thought a few times, like, oh, I wonder when she's gonna leave. And then I'm realizing I don't think they're gonna leave, because they like it here, and there's community here, and it does offer something different. Even though they are doing the same thing with their own communities, they still get something of value from me, and and that's awesome. And we're friends, and I'm not in competition with them, and they're not in competition with me. And I agree, in a typical workplace setting, that would be, the person in my position would feel threatened and like, almost probably want them out, because I don't want them copying me or doing, and it's just, that's just not the case. And I love that. I love it.
Yeah. No. And you think about that, like a manager or an office manager or something, it's like, you don't go into their office, which, I mean, I guess this is like our virtual office, right? You don't go into their office and take all their notes, right? Like, it's unheard of. Like, and they're sure as heck not going to offer those notes to you. But when you're part of these communities, it's like, okay, you guys, I went to a mastermind this weekend, and this is what I learned. Go implement it. You know what I mean? It's like, and you're so excited to share that with them. Like, this is what my coach told me. And you go and tell them, and then they're like, yeah, that's good stuff. Like, you know what I mean? And I think, and that's the same whether you're an independent coach and you are part of a community like this, whether you're part of an MLM, because your uplines are always trying to share their knowledge with you, because, I don't know, it's just so different. And it's so amazing that whether you're a blogger or a coach or whatever, you can get support, and it doesn't have to feel lonely,
Yes.
So I love that. I'm glad that the conversation went that way a little bit, because I think that's huge.
Good. I'm glad it is.
Well, tell us a little bit more about what you do. So say for me, because I don't do I don't earn money on my blog because I mostly just blog about my business stuff. So, I mean, I guess in a roundabout way I do, but it's different. Like, so obviously Inez is going to come back and post a link so that you guys can get a really, really awesome resource. But like, so make sure you check that out. But what if, like, say I came to you and I'm like, hey, I want to start a money-making blog. What's the first step I have to take? Like, what's even involved in that? Like, do you have like any like tips or tricks or I mean, obviously the first thing is to get a blog, but
find the platform. The first thing is figure out who your audience is. So, and I think that goes to any business,
right?
That you need to know who your audience is. Get very specific. I actually have a resource in our coaching group where I shared questions that you can ask, and it's a kind of a lengthy list, I guess. Just so you know, like, how much money does she make? Where does she live? Does she have kids? Is she married? And you just kind of ask, or is she, I guess. For me, I work with women where our target audience is women and moms. So, sorry, men, if any men happen to see this, but, so that's
ones because I don't work with men usually. Not that I wouldn't, but I just don't.
Yeah, no, I've had a couple of clients, not in my coaching group, that's for mom bloggers, but I had a man actually sign up for one of my services, and I was like, where did he come from? And then I was like, oh, he's one of my mom bloggers' husbands, and he has his own business, and he signed up for one of my services. I was like, that's cool. But yeah, I'm the same way. Not that I wouldn't, moms are my passion, but so I would say figure out who your target audience is. Figure to the letter. I mean, like, get really, really like specific about who your target audience is, because then everything will flow out of that. And actually, the next step, really, which is probably the first step, which is what I have to offer. I'm going to leave a link for this, is get a business plan. So I think a lot of us, even I, skip past that one, but make a business plan. And but that's part of the process of making a business plan. And I have a little freebie that I'll give that's components that should be in your business plan. And then if you sign up, I will actually walk you through via email every single step to get your business plan done. So, awesome. Which is something I normally don't do. I'm just doing that for this. I'm adding it for this because that's something you usually get in my coaching group, but I'm doing that.
Well, thank you for that. I'm sure everybody will be super excited. So even if you're catching the replay, come back and make sure you get that if it's not already in the comments below. And make sure you take advantage of that. Even if you're just considering starting a business and you're like, holy crap, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do you even know about getting paid for a blog? Like, that's so overwhelming. And, like all these things, she can help you with that. Like, I can't help you with that because I don't have experience on paid blogging. So make sure you hop in on this because it's going to be incredible.
Yes, but every business should have a blog. So anyone out there that you don't have a blog for your business, you should get one.
A place to share, because not everybody sees everything on Facebook either. Yeah. That whole algorithm thing is kind of wacky, and I don't even pay any attention to it. I'm not even going to try to learn about it right now in this point in life because it changes so frequently. So yeah, having a blog and having an email list, that's a constant. So yes, definitely have a website with a little blog link where you can repurpose your videos like this. Like I always share my blogs, or on my blog, I share these videos, so people can come back and watch them if they want to, and they don't have to search around on Facebook for them. They know right where they can find them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, you guys, we're just about running out of time here, but if you have any questions, please feel free to pop those into the comments right now. And, especially if there are questions for Inez, or maybe there are even questions about her freebie for the business plan, or even about blogging or starting your own mom blog or whatever it is. I'm sure she could even help you with other types of blogging, if you wanted to start a fashion blog or a food blog or whatever. So definitely post those questions, and we'll give you guys just a minute because there is a little bit of a delay. And And please make sure you come back and check that link out, and take advantage of that amazing and generous offer that she's given to us. Let's see if we've got
any. I want to say, you mentioned the blogging. You don't have to be a mommy blogger. I work with any mom that has a blog. So if you need any help on any kind of blog, it doesn't have to be about parenting or momming.
All right. Well, I think that's it, you guys. So yes, again, come back, check out that link. Shoot Inez a message, ask her, about joining her community. If you guys want to really take advantage of blogging, and like she said, she's got a small community. Sounds like a pretty intimate group, and it's a paid community, but you're going to get excellent resources. So definitely hop in on that, and we'll go from there.
I have a free one as well too. There's a free one. The Influential Mamas is free. The Influential Mamas.
Oh, I'm part of that one.
Yeah, that's where you. Well, you're in it. Yeah, that's where you found me. Influential Mamas. Any influential mama can join that, and you get lots of blogging tips there too. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved talking with you, and I loved hearing how you overcame, a pretty big hurdle, and, some things that I think a lot of people really get set back by and never really start. So I'm so glad that you persevered and you pushed forward, and you kind of got to say like, I showed you. So I'm super glad that you didn't let, outside influences or self-doubt hold you back, because what you're doing out there with your blog and with your community and with your blog coaching is incredible. So definitely keep that up, and you guys, everybody, if you're a mom and you want to follow mom blogging, definitely hop in on these communities, and be sure that you follow Inez, because she's got a ton of value to add.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good day, everyone.